4 tasks and you're well prepared for these tasks in advance. For 7 each, you again need around 69, which is around 7. So make sure that firstly, you don't do any kind of grammatical mistakes, no spelling mistakes, and no form mistakes. Form means in our summarized written text, we are supposed to write everything in one line, one sentence. You can use multiple commas, semicolons, however you want, but make sure that you only put one full stop at the end. Okay, that's the form that we use in our summarized written text. Some writing essay, we use 4 paragraphs. Make sure that you don't leave line when you write another paragraph. That means when you write one paragraph, you only click on enter once, not twice. If you click on enter once, you will be redirected to the next line and you have to start your next paragraph with the very next line. Don't lose extra line in the middle, otherwise you will lose marks in your form. For your summarized spoken text, can anybody tell me what is the form that we follow here in our summarized spoken text? Anybody? Kirandeep, Samund, Hargun, Sahil, Parminder?
No more than 70 word. 50 to 70.
Yeah, 50 to 70, that's our word limit. A word limit here is a 5 to 75 words. Here we have 2 to 300 words, and here we have 50 to 70 words. But the form that I'm asking is that how are you supposed to write your answer? Are we supposed to write it in one sentence? Are we supposed to write it in one paragraph? Are we supposed to write it in bullet points? Like, what is the form? What is the structure that we use for a summarized spoken text, guys?
One paragraph.
One paragraph, Parminder. Yes, that's correct. One paragraph, and for our right from dictation, the form that we use in our one sentence. However, you're supposed to write your one sentence, for example, starting with a capital letter, ending it with a full stop. That's the perfect form that we use in our right from dictation. And if needed, if there's any commas needed or maybe any contraction form needed in the sentence, then we have to use that accordingly. One sentence and one sentence we have to use in these 2 tasks, and paragraph form we have to use in these 2 tasks. Okay, please make sure that you don't mess up with the form, the structures of these 4 tasks. Second thing comes your grammar. Very, very important. We used to write keywords, but that's not going to work anymore. You make sure whatever you write it in proper way, that it's grammatically correct, it's sensible, it's a meaningful sentence. Okay, even if the content, even if you're not able to write a lot of content from there, like for example in these 2 questions, you still are writing a sentence which is grammatically correct, otherwise you will lose marks in your grammar. Third thing is your spellings. Even a single letter word spelling is considered a mistake that will make you lose your 1 mark. So make sure you don't do any spelling mistakes as well. Okay, these are some of the things that you have to keep in mind while you have to achieve maximum target in your writing score, writing module. Now let's talk about our summarized written text. As you can see, our writing marks have increased. So has our reading marks. Okay, they have also increased our reading marks here. Now we will get fixed 2 questions in our summarized written text. And how are we supposed to do it? Firstly, make sure to get our writing marks, you're actually understanding and you're making sure that you're following all the criterias. Proper structure, proper spellings, proper grammar. And punctuation. Punctuation means using your commas and full stops and capital letter. That comes under grammar. You're using that perfectly, correctly. And reading, what gives us marks in reading is that you have read the whole paragraph. Whatever the text has been provided to you, you have already read all of it, and then you're choosing only the main sentences. Main sentences means no examples, no details, only the topics which give you an understanding of what are the things, the bullet points of that particular text. You are noting those points and joining them together to form one sentence, to form one summary in your summarized written text. That will ensure that you get maximum marks in your reading. Let me show you one question. How do you have to do your summarized written text? Okay, let's take one question from here. For example, you get just this one text in your exam. Okay, so obviously we have around 10 minutes to do this question. We don't have to spend complete time, like around 2 to 3 minutes, to read what is written here. Just try to skim through what is been said in this particular text. For example, culinary identity. In culinary identity, Australia looks to its indigenous ingredients that's native to its country. Similarly, without qualification, Australian food culture can only be based upon food indigenous to this country. However, Australian native foods, proposing Australian native foods as symbol relies upon their association with nature and geographic origin. Italy's gastronomic identity is tied to non-indigenous tomato. Thailand's non-indigenous chili, and Australian do not eat indigenous food. Despite valiant efforts, they're promoting consumption of native resources. They are generally accessible. Indigenous food are less relevant to Australian identity. Okay, so what I've understood from this text is that mainly they're talking about indigenous food in Australian countries. Okay, in this particular country. So what I'm going to take only the main elements. Australia automatically looks to it indigenous food. Okay, for culinary identity, for its ingredients. Okay, F capital, comma, and uh, Australian native foods. Okay. Mm, uh, and proposing Australian native foods as national symbols relies more upon their association with nature and geographic origin. Semicolon. Moreover, uh, Italy's gastronomic identity is tied to the non-indigenous tomato. Comma, Thailand's to the non-indigenous chili. Comma, and lastly, um, Australian identity today. Indigenous food is less relevant to Australian identity today than passion fruit. Let me see, 58 words. Yep, that's perfect. All right, let's have a look at it. एक बार से पढ़ के देखते हैं if it's making sense on its own. For culinary identity, Australia automatically looks to its indigenous ingredients, and proposing Australian native foods as national symbols relies more upon their association with nature and origin. Moreover, Italy's gastronomic identity is tied to its tomato, Thailand's to its non-indigenous chili, and lastly, indigenous food are less relevant to Australian identity today than lamb and passion fruit. Okay, let's have a look at it. ठीक है, इसमें as such कोई problem नहीं है. Now, what I've made sure here, APUNI does not show your reading marks. It will only show your writing marks. So writing is perfect here. This is how you're supposed to write. But for your reading, also make sure that you're taking sentences from each and every paragraph that you get. Okay, that will ensure that you've gotten complete marks for your reading as well. Okay, let's do one more question, guys.
I have a question, ma'am, quickly.
Yes, Sahil, please.
Do we need to give space after every commas or?
Yeah. See, for example, if you're writing, this is sentence said, you need to put a comma after it, not before it. Okay,
Yeah.
for example, here you see bonding, they've put a comma after it, not before it. We don't use a comma before, we don't use a space before anything, any punctuation, but always after it. Similarly for full stops or question marks as well. Okay, just for your information, although we don't use question marks in our summary. Also, we don't use any full stop in the middle of our summary. Please, guys, make sure that even if there's any value given in the text, for example, 0.6. They have given 0.6. You're not supposed to use that because that point is considered a full stop in computers knowledge. So make sure you don't use these kind of words. Similarly, Irene S. Levine, PhD. They have a lot of full stop here. S full stop, PH full stop, D full stop. Again, don't use these words. Otherwise, you will get a complete zero for your answer. Okay, if you mess with the structure, you're supposed to write your answer in one sentence, and one sentence means one full stop at the end. For example, this is one sentence, okay, till other, starting from humans, because this is one full stop at the end. So make sure that there is no full stop even in this form in the middle of your summary. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Let's understand what this particular text is about. Humans love to complain. Negative bonding is the default for many groups. Complaining is the only way to get attention. It's a race to the bottom, and the worst situation wins. These conversations feel good is because we feel understood. People raised in negative environment learn early on. Being positive gets you thrown out of the club. Translate: when negativity provides bonding, humans are reluctant to abandon the behavior that brings them comfort. So here, in summary, what they're talking about, that humans love to complain, and what are the things related to it that actually makes human love complaining. Okay, so you can just write this part as it is. Humans love to complain to each other, and it helps us feel less alone. Very important. So I'm just going to take this part here as it is. Please make sure, even though these were two sentences, I have made them into one single sentence by using these two extra things, comma and. Okay, now I'm done with my first paragraph. Okay, I don't think that there's more important things here, so I'm going to go to my next paragraph. Semicolon, moreover. Moreover, complaining is the only way to get attention in some families. Okay, or if you want, you can just write it as it is, but I want to make sure that it looks a part of a single sentence. So complaining is the only way to get attention in some families, comma, and these conversations feel good because we feel understood. Okay, and these conversations feel good because we feel understood. And I have removed is here as well. Okay, because that is something that I'm adding from the middle. If you think that you might have some grammar problems in doing so, don't use these kind of sentences. Just leave this part. You can just write something from here. Okay, comma, and lastly, when negativity, till here. Sorry, when lastly, W should be small. When negativity provides bonding, humans are reluctant to abandon the behavior that brings them comfort. Okay, that's it. Let's have a look at it. Humans love to complain to each other, and it helps us feel less alone. Moreover, complaining is the only way to get attention in some families, and these conversations feel good because we feel understood. And lastly, when negativity provides bonding, humans are reluctant to abandon the behavior that brings them comfort. ठीक है, यहाँ तक क्लियर है गाइस? सबको कोई प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे कि मैंने क्यों कुछ ऐड किया, क्यों कुछ रिमूव किया, ये एक सेंटेंस है या नहीं? एनीथिंग, एनी क्वेश्चन? All right, let's then submit our answer. Guys, किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है? हरकुन, किरणदीप, परमिंदर, समुंदर? No questions? Sahil?
All good, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. Magar
Yes.
बहुत ही weird because I haven't like done any coaching before.
कोई बात नहीं, tell me please.
Can we copy and paste in exam? Like
No, actually, ये सिर्फ एक यूनिट है. The interface here, they'll show you. ये सिर्फ दिखाने के लिए है, but वहाँ पे आपको manually type करना पड़ेगा. पर मैंने very good question. If
okay.
you have not taken the exam before, guys, You cannot copy paste anything. I'm really sorry. This is just to show you very quickly, because अगर मैं manually type करने बैठूंगी यहाँ पे पूरा class का time चला जाएगा 10 minute एक question में. Okay, so this is just to show you, but in your exam you have to manually type in everything. There's no option called cut, copy, paste like that, at least from the question. आपको आंसर अपने रिस्पॉन्स बॉक्स में जरूर मिलेगा कट एंड पेस्ट ऑप्शन. ओके, वो यहाँ पे इसलिए होगा क्योंकि अगर आपने कुछ एक्स्ट्रा लाइन लिख दी है, आपको वो लास्ट में लिखनी है, तो यू डोंट हैव टू राइट इट अगेन. यू कैन जस्ट कट दैट पार्ट एंड पेस्ट इट एट द एंड ऑफ इट इन द सेम रिस्पॉन्स बॉक्स. आप रिस्पॉन्स बॉक्स से कट पेस्ट कर सकते हो, बट नॉट फ्रॉम द क्वेश्चन. ओके, alright. Also, do you see these red lines here? Guys, very important. Whenever we get summarized written text and you get different paragraphs, okay, in one text, try to only pick sentences which are maybe the first one or the last one, because there's a high possibility that these sentences are independent and they are more important. If you end up picking those first or maybe the last sentences from each paragraph, okay, considering your word limit, then that will ensure that you get full marks in your reading as well. Okay, so try to only take sentences which are maybe the first ones or the last ones. As you've seen कि मैंने ये वाले sentences इसीलिए लिए क्योंकि या तो वो first पे थे या last पे थे. ठीक है, उससे मुझे reading के marks मिलेंगे. Although APUNI does not show you how much marks you've gotten in your reading, it will only show you your writing marks. So please make sure that even if you're skimming your paragraph, you are taking main important things, and important things are usually written in the starting or maybe at the end. All right, let's move on. एक last question करते हैं. You all can also help me. What kind of sentences do I need to pick from there? Only from our August prediction files. Okay. Now here we have 3 paragraphs. Okay, so I will try to take one sentence from here, one sentence from here, and probably 2 sentences from here. That means 4 sentences, and I will connect them. How will I connect them? Sentence 1, put a comma, and sentence 2, semicolon, moreover, comma, my sentence 3, comma, and lastly, comma, and my sentence 4. This is going to be my pattern, okay, of how I'm going to write my summary. If you want, you can take a picture of it. Lastly, sorry, it's a comma. This is the pattern that we follow. Now let's have a look at what the text is about. What are they saying here? Plug in acronym PEV. People will drive to work in 10 years. Before you drive off, with enough power, you to drive 500 to 50 to 100 kilometers through city traffic. You'll be plugged in your car once, and the car batteries allow power to flow from your car batteries. If driving home for some other reason, your batteries look like flat, driving a generator has supplied the battery so you could complete your journey. Concerns over peak oil increasing greenhouse emissions. Could be 5 times as many motor registered around, and total dependence of petroleum based fuels is every sense which is unsustainable. Okay, so what I have understood from here is that they're talking about how in the coming future we will switch from driving to electronic cars and how that is going to sustain our environment. But there is going to be a possibility that it is going we are going to overly depend on petroleum based fuels for transport, which is unsustainable for our world. Okay, so what I'm going to try is take one sentence from here. Here's a term you're going to watch here more often. It's a board. It's big on board with half overnight. Okay, plug-in and the acronym PV. Plug-in vehicle and acronym PV is a term that you're going to hear much more often. Okay, perfect. Is or are the terms you're going to hear much more often. That you're going to hear much more often, comma, and uh, mm, when you bought your car to sign a contract with your favorite electricity supplier, allowing them to draw supplier, comma, no, not this one. Let's take, okay, we can just take this one as it is. When you arrive at work, you'll plug in your car once again, this time into a socket that allows power to flow from the car battery to the electricity grid. W should be small, semicolon, moreover, their alternative being very expensive. It would be good deal for them. No. Okay, that's it. Moreover, concerns over peak oil increasing could be 5 times. Okay. So how many words? 78. That's a lot of words. So plug-in are the terms that you're going to hear much more often. And when you arrive to work, you plug in your car once again. You plug in your car once again. I'm just going to remove this part. This time into a socket that allows power to flow from your car batteries to the moreover concerns of increasing greenhouse gas emissions. Just going to remove this part. Okay. And the likelihood concerns of a period and the likelihood that by the middle of the century there could be 5 times as many motor vehicles registered worldwide. All right, that's it. This is how you're going to write your answer here. Plug-in vehicle and the acronym PV are the terms that you're going to hear much more often. And when you arrive at work, you plug in your car, this time into a socket that allows power to flow from your car's batteries to the electricity grid. Moreover, concerns over peak oil and the likelihood that by the middle of the century, there could be 5 times as many motor vehicles registered. I think there's a problem here from the question itself. They need to use a comma here. And that likely by that middle of the century, there could be 5 times as many registered worldwide. Yeah. And there could be. They need a comma here. All right, let's check our answer. That would be 5 times 74. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, guys, this is our summarized written text. अभी तक कोई problem इस question में कोई questions? क्योंकि the next question we're going to do is for our essay writing. So any question till here or is it all clear? Everyone?